That's right.
Oh, I might really want to have a time here.
And I'm in a small screen share version of Zoom. So, oh, I can see some participants now. Yay. Welcome, everybody.
This is so. Oh, now they turned off my lights. Now maybe she's going to turn the alarm. Vänta lite. Upp, upp.
Never a dull moment.
Det är bra. Inget bra. Du behöver inte larma heller. Jag tänkte om jag hade gjort mig.
Welcome, everyone. Feel free to say hello in the chat. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're coming from. We are so excited to see you here.
Yeah, it's really, really excited. I'm so excited to be in this. For me, it's more like a playtime.
We kind of called it a playinar. I feel like that's a good way to put it. We are definitely here to play. We've done a lot of play to prepare for it, which is my favorite kind of prep, is to play.
Yeah, let's see what we can see.
I always laugh that picture of me that's on the screen. I was getting headshots taken at a conference, and they told me to do a test shot and to just be myself. And so I went. And it is the most accurate picture of me I think that's ever been taken. And so that is the headshot that seems to make its way places. I wonder if the photographer would be happy knowing that it's the test shot that is used most of the time.
It looks really good. I think I need one of those. I think I have one when like I had a headshot from, I gave a talk somewhere, and the system shorted, and we had to round what do you call it? Yeah, when it just killed the audio, because they had live translation. I think it was in Shenzhen on the first Maker Faire there, and that video is of me hearing that high pitched sound.
Yeah,
and I'm standing like that on stage. It's very good image. So it's similar there. Maybe we should bring that back.
We should. Vivian, something just popped up in the Q&A. It looks like the chat is disabled for participants. So Q&A is working, but it looks like the chat might not be on. I don't know if that's something that we can do. Oh,
we are trying to fix that. Absolutely. In the meantime, drop stuff in Q&A, and we are soon open with the chat.
So you've heard the voice of Vivian, who is the tech support wizard, who is fixing everything behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Vivian, for doing that. It is 12:03. Erik, what do you think? Should we give another minute, maybe two? I don't want to limit. I know we have a lot to do. So, or we could get started now and people can just pop in.
Yeah, it's what do you feel? I feel we can. They're not. I think we can just start and they pop in, and it's still gonna make sense.
Yeah.
Cover everything, and then in worst case scenario, they can actually rewatch it, the recording.
Best case scenario, you can watch us on repeat. And Deborah just did send something to the Q&A. I had to redo my registration, so that might be why others are late. So we might have people popping in because they had to do something with their registration. But we'll get started, and anybody who joins can join in as soon as they get here. The more, the merrier. We're just too excited to wait. We can't wait another moment because we are here for an inclusive innovation webinar. BirdBrain and Strawbees teaming up, and we are over the moon to be sharing this prototyping accessible playgrounds with Strawbees and BirdBrain Technologies webinar. So thank you so much for joining us today. All right, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Sarah FitzHenry. I am I have to remember my new title. I am the Director of Education and Mission at BirdBrain Technologies.
Yeah, and I'm Erik Torstensson. I'm a founder and inventor of Strawbees, and yeah, that love playing and building big things.
Important update, the chat is open, so if you want to chat, you want to say hello, you want to share, that is available for you. I'm also going to introduce my cat, Joey. If you hear a jingle, he loves a webinar, so it is quite possible that you will see a little orange tail around me. I will try to keep him off of the desk. Here's our outline for the day. If you are a person who likes to have the slides open in front of you to follow along, so am I. So we've got a QR code and a link here. You are welcome to pull up these slides and follow along with us. And there's tons and tons of resources embedded into these slides. So we wanted to make sure we included that link so you could use it today if you'd like, or so that you can revisit later and find all of these resources together in one place. So over the next hour, we are going to meet BirdBrain and the Hummingbird Kit. Then you're going to spend some time meeting Strawbees, getting to know them. We'll talk about using Strawbees and Hummingbird together and share some very exciting innovations. Then we're going to get into the Play for All design challenge, the playful prototyping, the human-centered design, and that we're so excited to share with you. We're going to share our prototype examples just to inspire you, not as a limit, because we know that what you're going to create is going to be even cooler. Finally, we will close with lots of free resources that hopefully you will go on your way and use. And we even have a giveaway announcement at the end. So be sure to stay until the end so you know who's taken home some prizes today. I'll leave this QR code up for another moment in case anybody wants to scan it if you're using a secondary device, or the link is right there. bit.ly accessible play 2024. bit.ly links are case sensitive, so keep that in mind. And I think Vivian will be able to send that link to the chat as well. So if you miss it, you can go right there. Okay, if we're going to talk about robots, the first thing we've got to do is make sure that we all are using shared language on what a robot is. So I wonder if our chat, I'm still not sure our chat is working because it's very quiet. So this is normally where I would ask for you to tell me what you think a robot is, but I will skip past that right now. If you're thinking of what a robot is, think about it in your head. I want to know if your definition matches ours, because at BirdBrain Technologies, we use one very simple definition for a robot, and it is something that can sense, think, and act. So a robot can sense the environment around it. It can think and plan how it is going to react to that data that it's getting from its sensors, and then it can use that data in order to do something. So when we mention a robot during this webinar, that's what we're talking about, something that can sense, think, and act. So I want to introduce you to the Hummingbird Robotics Kit. But before I can do that, I need to introduce you to the most important part of BirdBrain. When we talk about the Hummingbird Kit, when we talk about BirdBrain in general, everything we do is driven by our mission to inspire deep and joyful hands-on learning in all students. You'll see that deep and joyful is bolded because we really believe in that, and that all students is bolded because we don't want to just reach the students that are interested in computer science naturally. We don't want to just reach the students that are in schools with teachers who have been studying computer science. We want to reach every single student. And we know that the best way to do that is to reach every single amazing teacher out there. So thank you so much for being here. If you're watching later, thank you for watching, because you are helping us to reach our goal of inspiring deep and joyful hands-on learning in all students. You can tell I really like our mission. It's what drives everything we do. I love it.
I love it too. So that's why I'm sitting here getting tearful here. So nice to have somebody with. Welcome.
All right, here is the Hummingbird Robotics Kit. It is flexible, it is creative, it is reusable. I'm going to talk at you, but hopefully you are distracted by that video, because that's exactly what it's there for. The Hummingbird Robotics Kit is a kit that allows you to design, build, and program a personally meaningful robot out of any materials with any device in multiple programming languages. So it is made to have very low floor, high ceiling, and incredibly wide walls. Anything you can imagine, you can create with the Hummingbird Kit. And as I said before, it is reusable, it's incredibly flexible, and you can use it just about anywhere. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. Let me keep going. Here's a peek inside the Hummingbird Kit. Full disclosure, we were going to show a video, but we figured there were better uses for your time. So if you're purchasing a premium kit, here you will see a list of all of the lights, motors, and sensors that you get with that kit. You're going to see lots of those lights, motors, and sensors in action in the robots that we show you today, as well as the Hummingbird bit itself. And not shown here, but included with the kit, if you choose to order one, is a microbit, and those are the heart and brain of the robot. I like to tell my students that the Hummingbird kit is the guts inside of a robot with no body, because you create the body out of recycled craft materials or whatever materials you want to use. So what can you make with the Hummingbird kit? It is so overwhelming. There are so many different things that you can make that we've broken our projects into 6 main categories. First, we have a moving scene. And these GIFs are actually live links. So if you click on a GIF, it will take you to a lesson plan that will walk you through your first moving scene. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get distracted, because that does happen to me very easily. But if you want to know more about these projects, you can click on any of these links. This is what I call a living book report. So this is the cover of a book that has been animated so that the reader can show what they loved about the story, what was meaningful to them. Next up, we have an invention. This is a catapult that was created with the Hummingbird kit, but any invention, obviously an invention can look like just about anything, so don't let this limit you. Another category is a real world model. This sample real world model is showing the way muscles and tendons work together in the human body. Next up, an animated character. We lovingly call this character Spidey Spoon, and it is just spoon and duct tape and markers and creativity. An animated character can be something as small as Spidey Spoon, or it could be something massive and 3D interactive. It could be something you wear, something you use. So an animated character, that's a big category. Next up, we have an interactive game. These games can be big or small. Here we're showing the classic, the cult favorite, the mini golf course. And this GIF this is actually a photo, not a GIF, but if it were a GIF, you would see that windmill turning, creating an obstacle for mini golf. And finally, we have a rover. This is a simple rover. We have that tutorial linked in this lesson plan on our website. You can also create box rovers. You can do just about anything into a rover as long as you've got those wheels and rotation servos. So here are the 6 main categories of Hummingbird projects, but don't let these limit you. I see another update. It looks like maybe the chat is working now. We'll see. So if we go back to our definition of a robot, that sense, think, act. Now let's take a look at it with those components in our Hummingbird kit. So you are going to have the robot sense using some of the sensors in the kit, whether it's the ultrasonic distance sensor, the dial sensor, light or sound sensor. Then it's going to use the Hummingbird bit, and the microbit, the heart and the brain, and that's going to allow it to think and work with the program that you've made for it. And finally, it's going to use its outputs, its lights and servos in order to act. So everything you need to create something that can sense, think, and act is there in your Hummingbird kit. Before I pass it over so you can learn more about Strawbees, we've got tons of resources linked here. We've got our Start Teaching page if you happen to have a Hummingbird kit. If you're wondering how this can be used in your classroom, you want to know more about education with the Hummingbird kit, that link is for you. We've got some professional development. These are videos that show you not only how to use the Hummingbird kit, but also how to teach with it. So it's created by educators for educators, how you can explain concepts like computational thinking, the best way to introduce servos to your students. It's all there, and we have one for multiple programming languages, whichever one you're using. We've got our programming tutorials, which has the same information as the PD, but there's no sound in these videos, and they're great for reading. I like to put them on screen for my students so that they can watch them while we chat. And finally, this star here, you can borrow a Hummingbird kit for free if you think that you're interested. Our demo program allows educators all over the United States to borrow a Hummingbird kit, try it out for 60 days, see if they like it. So if you're thinking, it's interesting, I'm not sure I'm ready to buy, but I'd like to know a little more, that demo link would be a great fit for you. And I could throw resources at you all day, but we've got more here borrowing a kit. If you want to purchase the kit, there's our link. If you want to look through our project library, we've got close to 100 hummingbird projects just waiting for you. Also a link to our podcast, the Flocking Amazing podcast, if you want to hear us talk to some educators about technology, and to our Facebook educators group, where creative and like-minded educators from around the world connect, ask questions, share victories, share challenges. It's a great place to hang out if you're interested in technology and using it to enrich your teaching. All right, what questions do we have? If you've got any questions so far, when I look at the chat, I still only have the ability to message the hosts and panelists. So I'm wondering, the chat might not be working for participants yet, but the Q&A is here. So still saying disabled on the chat, link in the chat. Lindsay crushing it, adding that link. Lots of update. Julie asked, will the presentation and slides be available for review? Absolutely. All of these resources will be available. And Lindsay said the website is amazing. So many great resources. Thanks, Lindsay. I promise Lindsay is not a BirdBrain employee. And we have a question from Sophia. What model of Hummingbird should I have for connecting with Microbit? Great question. There are 2 models of Hummingbird. Hummingbird Duo is our older model. So you want the Hummingbird Bit to use with Microbit. And there's information about both of those different versions of Hummingbird on our website. Is there a kit with both together? Oh, great question. I'm assuming, Robin, that you're asking, can you buy a Duo and a Bit together? Or maybe you're asking, can you buy Hummingbird and Strawbees together? Ooh, you can't buy Hummingbird and Strawbees together yet, but now I think we should do that and maybe give Robin
makes so much sense.
That's a good idea. As for purchasing Duo and Bit together, you can buy them both from BirdBrain at the same time, but there's no kit with them together. All right, I'm going to keep watching for questions. Oh, there are more questions. How to use the Hummingbird with tablets. We won't cover that in this webinar, but I would love to help out with that. So please write into our support. We can easily get you started with tablets. What grade level do you feel the Hummingbird Bit should be introduced? Michelle, good question. That's up to your students. So we say grades 4 and up. We've had teachers use them with younger students. We have lots of teachers use them with college students. So our guidance is grades 4 and up, but nobody knows your students better than you. So it really depends on what you feel that they're ready for. Hummingbird kits are the best. Awesome. Okay, I am going to pass the mic over. Erik, thank you for letting me roll there. And let's Strawbees.
It's all good. And I basically what we could say, if you can move on there to control the slide there. Yes, super. So we could just copy paste our missions in many ways. Like we can hear how much. So like then we can skip quite a lot of my talk because it's so energizing, so nice to see. Like we're all in this to get kids to build things, for me to build knowledge and to have a fast prototyping system, to be able to build knowledge and communicate ideas. It's, for me, it's a way of building a toy or a tool or objects with which to talk to each other about technology. So we wanted to be a very big, like more of a sketching tool when I started this. And so let's say what is a prototype? Because I figured you were talking about prototypes. I'll go in a little bit more to what Strawbees is later, but it's very important that it's fast. But prototype comes from Greek and has a basic meaning first time or first formed. And prototype can be robots, but the most important thing here is that it's just someone or something that serves as a model or inspiration for those that comes later. And that's very important in the way we use Strawbees within classroom and all the resources we have. It's just the beginning of something. The things we show our prototypes, what the kids do, our students do, is a way of them to communicate their idea. It doesn't have to work 100%. It's a way of showing what their idea is, to understand the problem through prototyping. And that's something that I think we add in many ways. And so I'm going to focus more on that in today's presentation of how we actually can work with our two systems together. We can move on to the next one because I don't have slide control here. There. So prototypes can be on just about anything. So today we're talking about robots, playgrounds and all those things, but it could even be a language and a way of just having the tactile element of connecting your straws and components and connectors that we have. They're there. to be able to build and explore and feel forces. So I started out saying feel the force, but then it became too much Star Wars, and we're like Straw Wars. So then we went into that. So, but it's a way of just being able to scaffold your way to ideas, to solve things really, really fast, not to be done fast, but to just like you were describing, the wide walls, to achieve wide walls. They start with something simple and then they just go out into this glorious funnel of creativity. So that's the thing. And one thing that we add through this soft, because a lot of people are asking us why we still use, like why we use it. It's so lightweight and everything there. It's still super durable, reusable, and obviously you can also find things that it worked with. But most importantly, if you look at my video just a little bit, when you build and when you put something under stress, it communicates without any teacher having to tell you that what's happening. It's bending under pressure. It pops apart when there's too much tension. And that's the way we build the communication in the material. To not always have to write everything down in text, which is a classic tool. So we can probably move on a little bit there, I think. And to be able to communicate this or guide you through this, because it can be kind of daunting, just like we showed here, but that's why we're going to go through some things today, is we have a massive platform called Strawbees Classroom. I actually don't know how many lessons or activities we have up right now. So I feel a bit unprepared in comparison to your perfect presentation before here. But it has everything. It has introductions of step-by-step things, but each of them open up to be able to go out on that wide wall exploration. And one other feature that I really love and why I actually really want us to collaborate is Strawbees, because it's not so sequential. And why I talk about that is because you can start from all ends on one and the same object. So you can build together in a way that's impossible with most other tools or any kind of construction kit, because usually you kind of have to build like a core structure and then put something outside of it, and then you have to dismantle it to start on the next robot. And when we talk and make robots, we have everything snap in, snap on, slide servos. Everything is more like a fluid sketching pad, where before you're good at sketching and drawing out ideas with your pencil, which is a really great tool, but it demands, like, there's so much practice to get good at that. You can scaffold and build it instead, and then realize, oh, this was a tricky thing. And that's one of the things that I also want them always to come into. Through the communication, you realize what was hard here. So what we're going to go through today, when we show some examples are what actually was tricky when me and my kids were building this, because we haven't had time to test this in the classroom yet, which is, I'm so curious to test it and try it. And hopefully the presentation material here will be enough for you to actually try it, to put it there under pressure, which is great. But you can see, like,
yes, please use this and let us know how it goes. We would love to do that.
And reconnect, because this is a living material here. So you can see one of the big amazing moments. We have robotics and everything, but we want to add this, like, that's why we're having so much fun together here now, because we use microbit. We have our own flow coding platform too from before. We have a robotics extension, but with your servos and the all the wonderful hacks, we'll go through that later, because you have call it hacks, which I absolutely love, of how to connect fast to cardboard and start sketching ideas. But I think when we see how we work with our stuff together, you see how speed increases, which means for them, agency from the student view is just becoming tenfold together. So I love that. Let's see which one is next. Yeah, basically we have a lot of kits, a lot of resources. This is our classroom kit, which is enough to have at least 30 students running and building all those big things together. Some of the absolute biggest things, you can't build 30 cranes, but you like the large scale crane, but you will be able to build a couple of them, which is great, and some robotic boards. But most of all, you can check out all the resources. I won't go through this, because go through Classroom, it's a better presentation than I will give, but I think the material will communicate through showing our prototypes and what I've developed for this collaboration. So hopefully we can play quite a lot more together with the stuff.
Yeah.
Some stuff. So that's where you can find the resources. It's in the links. You can check out everything. It's free, not the boxes, but so any questions on on Strawbees? Yeah, that was also just for everybody who's in here and might be the first time you see Strawbees. The name, it's been invented, embedded within the community of kids, a global community of kids. And the name is a 9-year-old kid called Chris who came up with it, because I didn't have a name. I was at World Maker Faire in New York. And I asked everyone what I should call it. And on this, like, it was a Sunday, he came back and said, one kid came back because he'd been thinking about it since he met, played with it. And you should call it Strawbees because it connects straws. It can be anything. And it sounds like strawberries, and everybody loves that. And I'm like, yes, thank you, copywriter. So no questions. Trying to keep it a bit short, but it wasn't that short.
Oh, looks like we do have a question about where Strawbees can be purchased and shipped. And I think our wizards behind the scenes can answer that in the Q&A. So that's the only one that I see right now. So Moses will send that over to the people behind the scenes, and we will keep rolling to show you Strawbees and Hummingbird together. All right, dive on in.
So when I talked about the way I want everything to be easy to change and interchange and slide or move, I tried to invent the same things for our combination of tools. So I show you where tape makes sense, because most of the time I try to avoid the tape and glue, because then you get stuck. Tape is sticky in many ways, but it's also a fantastic tool for prototyping. So this is where I show, if you don't have 3D printers, which some of us have it, we want to utilize this in interesting ways. So that's why I developed some tools for that. But all of the things that I show later will be able to be done this way also. So that's why this is more like a library for you to revisit. You tape on the flat Strawbees, which is very easy to tape on, as you can see here. That's our Strawbee piece number 1, the original piece. And you can even slide on the Strawbees onto the servos. So I'm showing that too. If you see the servo arms that you have on your robotics, it just slides on there. So you can put the Strawbee on, I used the yellow one in the lower left corner. And I think these images should explain some of it. And then there are some other construction items you can use to snap into the extension, the purple wheel there. What did you call it? Sorry for, or like the...
We call that a plastic brick adapter.
Brick adapter. Yeah, exactly. So you
copyright reasons. It happens to work with Lego Technic pieces.
Yeah, and a lot of interesting pieces that I've also developed. So I've showed some examples there of how to use it if you want to have mechanical output, which is a really fun way of working with Strawbees, because it can move and bend and twist. Can I actually show this thing just to show you all the movement? This is my hypnotizer. So you're enjoying this now. Oh, pops apart. So you see, but this is really fun. But all that mechanisms are very, very, like, one close to my heart, to try to be able to sketch that, because this is super, super hard to make with other things. So let's go on to the next slide, which is my new library of 3D printables for the Hummingbird. And these will be accessible after the after the webinar, because I got stuck in Thingiverse. They will be on Thingiverse, and they will be called a Hummingbird kit. So like, that's the piece, and then you have all of them in one, and then you can pick which one to print. But basically, where we know that Strawbees becomes fastest is when you can actually snap in both the servos and snap on the servos onto structures and onto cardboard really fast. So that's why I have two snap-on servo mounts, and I'm going to show you a bit here, very technical now, how they work instead of video, because they're so fresh out of the printer that they haven't been recorded outside of actually. So these just slide on to the servo. You see yeah, it should be able to see it even in the small spotlight there. Very simple. This one is mechanical output to be able to make automata from your for example, the robot you showed there, the Scout, or what did you call it? The one that was the rover.
Yeah.
So this one is a really good way of hacking the rovers, which I will show also here. But each of these should have a description on Thingiverse later, so I don't have to go through them now. But basically, it's all to be able to snap on, snap in, slide around, play with balance, and all those things that I enjoy personally, and I hope everybody else does, and we can see how it works with our students. So I will show a bit more how they work. Let's go to the next slide here and see. Yeah, you can see some versions of how they snap in. You can make arms, linkages, movements in quick ways. So basically in all these things, I have a secret model that I don't want to show that's actually using the things, but I'll show it. Should I maybe show it? Nah, no, I'll wait. I'll show you this later.
I want to see it.
Just showing, these are in the slideshow to be able for everybody to be able to look at and see how are these pieces used. So there's some snap into servos on the lower left, slide in straws on the upper left. You can also make it an arm for mechanical output, like upper right. But then you can see you can do the same thing with the snaps. And I actually, right now, the snaps are way better. So it's because it becomes faster. So, but maybe somebody else finds better use for the other ones. So that's why both will stay. These are prototypes, and you're welcome to test them if you have access to a 3D printer.
Our beta testers, we've got 64 beta testers here.
Fantastic.
Ready.
Yeah, and let's see if I have some other things that I use a lot for be able to combine cardboard with robotics, and especially now both the Hummingbird and all Strawbees robotics. You can go to the next one. Are some very simple things, like I call these rails. Making holes for your Strawbees to be able to connect rails to the cardboard structure, which means you don't have to put the expensive stuff stuck on the box. So basically you can have lots of these boxes running and the kids can have a project evolving without robotics being stuck there, for example. So that's why I usually use that, but also being able to shift balance once again with rovers and everything. It's very powerful to be able to just test it. So this one is also there for you to have a new alphabet of how to connect to cardboard in a way. So that slide is there to hold that. Then also I said something connection points down there is actually for all the sensors and lights we have. So I can just slide in, for example, the ultrasound onto those straw connectors down there. But you'll see that. And then all of these are connected on the back side of the cardboard using locks or connection points. So that's, I think, most of the, yeah. And then we can show you how this is used if you implement it. This is a base box model. This is how you would snap on your the Hummingbird bit and the battery pack if you want to have them in the same place. But then both of those can just slide and vary once again, because what you'll see, that thing, to have that kind of agency over testing what happens if the robot has the balance in the back. It's easier to go, you know, there's so many opportunities for experiences that build their testing loop, their iterative creative spiral, which we have in all our classroom content. You have enough small changes that make the classroom immediately wide wall, even if they build the same base model. Yes. Which is one of my hopes with this combination. There, we give them some simple base models, and then it's just going to go. It's going to go wide, but all of a sudden it also goes high ceiling, which I'll also show in the end. You can't.
Yeah, it really happens. It's really hard to go wide without going high too. Students are just brilliant.
But that's when you realize that that's where engagements has started. They can't really stop. The problem is we have a way of trying to coordinate this within the 45-minute sessions, but basically it would be fun to extend that, because that time when you see somebody in that mode, where you can see their brain is on fire in a way. When you're in this 3D space, you're building larger, you're coming up with the ideas of taking on new challenges that you would never dare to challenge them on if you came up with the idea. But when they're in that zone and in that loop and start building creative confidence, that's one of those moments that we want to share as much as possible across the planet. And I think we found a partner for doing this. That's so fantastic. But so these slides are here for you to also just see it. Obviously, you can also come up with an infinite amount of ways of doing the same things. But basically knowing that it's really good to put on rails and making holes for connecting. So I use pencil holes, which is a very standard pencil. So pencils are great for making holes if you don't have our special cardboard tools. But that's basically it. Regular pencil is a great tool for building with Strawbees and Hummingbird. And then these are examples of combining 3D prints. The cardboard hacks on birdbraintechnologies.com, which I love for making all these. So you can see the combo becomes super powerful. And you can come into this really wonderful, highly iterative creative design process. But let's not talk about it more. It's more like we want to show you some prototypes later because they speak louder than me just saying it happens. Okay, and then I just wanted to show some of the examples when I first tested it. Am I allowed to? Yeah, can we show combos?
Yeah. Do you want me to on this slide, or do you want me to keep going?
It's coming on the next slide. I think there's two videos there. You tell the left one first. First prototype of combining like the rover and BirdBrain and Strawbees. It's a weird nodding creature. Has nothing to do with the theme of today. Maybe it has, because you could put somebody inside.
It sure is playful. I think, yeah.
Everything happens like that, and it just moves around. It's really fun. And then I made a development because to show what Strawbees is good at, it's being able to just let them loose and build it wrong in a way to find out something that's really right. And so to the right, we have a development. This is the Broomba, a robot that cleans the floor in a not super good way. But the only thing I've done, so you can see it's the rover code. It's just slightly random. So you're actually discovering how a Roomba would work, for example, or any vacuum robot, but I put a broom on him. But it's also evolved already. So now it has a whistling mouth, basically putting a... So those are the ways that we find that kids with that process together as a teacher, when you build your creative confidence, you can really like nudge together with them, solve things, come up with new problems to solve. And this is just from the first session. And that's why I showed the base model there that I showed in the slides. This is the core of that. And if you take the next slide, this is for everybody to be able to see.
Keep going.
Go on here. So Strawbees are all color coded. And the reason I put this slide here is for everybody. Based on this, you could just challenge people to build this in a summer camp, some school, or whatever you're doing, any creative thing, because based on this image alone, you should be able to create it, because there's nothing hiding the stuff inside. You see almost everything. And if you look at the colors, you see the 3-leg Strawbee is green, you see the single-leg Strawbee is blue, you can see the 5-leg Strawbees are red, there's yellow ones in there too, and then we have all of them. And if you're interested in maths, you can see that we have the 2 number series and no 4-legged Strawbee. And that's to avoid false positives, building squares that are strong, which I try to avoid. But also we have the Fibonacci and the prime numbers there. So I didn't want to ruin that. But then you can also see like a highlight of how to connect I just lost the ultrasound sensor there. One example. But this is for you. So everybody who's been in the webinar, if you look at this, if you have access to both technologies and a 3D printer or the taped versions, because they all work the same way, then you can build this. And just experiment with getting the movement of the robot's arms right, because it's a very simple construction. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's high ceiling, but it's just scaffolded up, and it
looks so impressive.
Yeah, and you see the movement. That's the thing. So by shifting the linkage lengths, it becomes if 2 kids built the exact same robot built on this, it will be different.
Yeah.
And then they can look at them and compare. Why is this one moving like this and this not? And they can just go into that loop of trying to understand it, changing it for themselves, instead of somebody having to explain, because that's really hard, because mechanisms are not that intuitive in the beginning. But with this, you can't break anything. It just bends or pops off. So go ahead and go crazy with building. So yes, I think that's enough for showing how we combine it. Any questions?
We've had some questions in the chat, and they are questions that I want to get to at the end. So I'm going to save. I've marked some for us to come back to because they're great questions. And for now, I'm going to keep going so we can pop into the Play for All Design Challenge, because that is going to show you the way Hummingbird and Strawbees can work together towards one specific, an example of a lesson that we both love, and you can see them in action in something that might be used in your classroom. So let's talk about the Play for All Design Challenge. It's centered around a question. Can we design a playground where everyone can play? And having given this question to students a lot, I know that for many students, the answer is, of course, our playground outside. Everyone can play on that. Because if you've never seen someone having a barrier to play on your playground, you might think that it's accessible to everyone. And so then you have to dive a little deeper with your students. Well, what if I broke my leg and I was using crutches? Could I play? And they might think a little bit and say, well, not while your leg was broken. You'd have to, sit and play chess or sit and read a book. And then when you didn't have to use crutches anymore, then you could come back. And then you can start challenging students. Well, what if I used crutches all the time? What if my leg wasn't broken? What if that was the way that helped me move? So there are lots of different ways to get students thinking differently about who can use playground equipment and who can't. There's no wrong way to get there. But when we're talking about human-centered or compassionate design, whatever you want to call it, starting by considering the perspective of someone that is different than you, considering multiple perspectives is the magical place to start. Linked over here is an animated short called Ian. I actually used this when I introduced this unit to 8th graders a few years ago, and it shows a student named Ian who is not able to play on the playground with his friends. And in a powerful, silent, there's very few, if any, words in this film, shows how it makes Ian feel to not be able to play, to sit and watch, how it impacts his classmates when he realizes that when they realize that he can't play, the ways that they can come together. It's a very powerful film and a way to introduce this concept to students. Another way to introduce this concept to students is through discussion. Discussion is so powerful to get students thinking creatively. And with something like barriers to access, it may be something that students have been taught they're not supposed to notice and they are not supposed to talk out loud about. So this slideshow, which you can access, we've got the link, we've got the QR code. This is also linked at the end. This is designed to get students talking. It says right here on the first slide, let's talk about it. And we are going right in with language. It'll give them language to use, empower them to ask questions, and model respectful ways to talk and to wonder. So this first slide introduces playgrounds don't always work for everyone. Swing, slides, merry-go-rounds, they can be so fun, but what if the equipment made you uncomfortable or unsafe? What if you couldn't walk or climb to reach the best part? Would you still want to play? How would that feel? So let's talk about some of the barriers to play and how we can make playgrounds fun for everyone. Here's a slide talking about mobility barriers, and this language is going to be echoed across each slide. Some people use tools to help them move or stand. This is non-judgmental language, just making an observation, really powerful for students to get a model of that language of just noticing. They may use these tools all of the time or some of the time. What would it be like to use these tools at a playground? That could be a full day's worth of discussion. What would it be like to move on different types of playgrounds with these kinds of tools? Our next slide talks about equipment barriers. Some people use special equipment to help them do things like breathe, eat, or feel their best. You can consider what it's like to approach a playground using those types of equipment. Some people can have different experiences with their senses too. Some may use tools or extra help to see or hear. Some children might not like loud noises or lots of sun, something that people might not have considered when they're thinking about their playgrounds and any equipment that they might design. There's, of course, language barriers. Reading and speaking words can sometimes be a barrier too. Not everyone speaks the same language or can read signs. Are there other ways to communicate? How could you involve them in your playground prototype? This last slide is just a summary of many other barriers to play. Depending on how deep you want to dive with your students, all of these slides are here for you to use, or you're welcome to toss them right out. This slide mentions location and transportation, hours of the park, public restrooms, weather protection, cost of entry, extra equipment, and invites students to think about other things that may be a barrier. Erik, I know when we were talking about this lesson, you mentioned that some of the dolls were too tall for your prototypes, and I thought thought, I didn't even think about being too tall, too short, too wide. There's all sorts of different ways that bodies can be put together that can make play really easy or more challenging depending on how the equipment is created. So those slides are available for you if you would like to use them. And keep in mind that you are more than able to teach this unit without those slides, but they end with the same question: what would a playground for everyone look like? And then you're empowering students. We've noticed a problem in the world. Now, as the people who are going to be, leading us in a few years, how do you want to solve it? What do you want to do? Let's start prototyping. So when you introduce a design challenge, as the teacher, as the leader of the challenge, there are a few things you want to consider. What does success look like for your students? You know your group, you know your limitations. So if success looks like a 2D prototype that they have drawn and that's enough, great, communicate that to your students. If it looks like something 3D, awesome, as long as they know. If it looks like something 3D that you are bringing to life with motors and sensors, there's no wrong answer as long as your students know what's expected of them. Make sure that everybody knows how long students have to work. If it's multiple class periods, they should know how much time they have, what materials they can and cannot use. Limitations can be challenging and also really push students to think creatively as well. What robotics components they need to include if you're looking for a way to challenge your students to incorporate sensors or different types of motors, let them know. And how will they showcase their learning? Who is the intended audience? It might look very different if they are creating a sample playground to show to the local city council than if they are making something for kindergartners that they're going to bring in their favorite stuffed animals to play. So imagine who you're going to be creating it for and let students know so they know who their intended audience is. And we've turned this into a lesson plan for you. So the link is embedded here. We've also got the QR code, and I'm going to take you over just to give you a preview of what this lesson plan looks like and what you'll find here. Your brain might be spinning. You might be thinking, I've got everything I need. I do not need a lesson plan, in which case, go for it. But if you're thinking, I'd like to do this, but I really don't know how to get started, I'd like a little more scaffolding, I'd like some more guidance, this lesson plan is for you. If we look over the table of contents, you'll see, let me zoom in a little bit here. Oh, too much. That always happens. You will see that we have an overview and learning goals, a sample schedule. So this lesson is designed to take 3 periods of class time. You might have more, you might have less. It can be altered and customized to you in any way. We've got teacher prep, the lesson plan itself, a sample solution. Then we've got some standards alignment for you to look through, classroom tips, and then some adaptations, extensions, differentiations, and finally additional information at the end. So this is technically a real world model because we are modeling playground equipment. Students will build a robot in order to showcase their inclusive innovation ideas. We got total estimated time. Here's our sample schedule. Session 1, they learn to code, explain the project, create a plan. Session number 2, students will build, decorate, and code. Session 3, students present their robots and reflect on their process. On this page, we've got our teacher preparation, everything you need to know and to prepare before your students come in so that you are ready to roll. And then finally, we walk you all the way through lesson 1, session 2, session 3. So this is available for you to download. You can look at it in more detail. I'm looking and seeing that there's some language here that I need to update. So if you are using this lesson plan, you might notice that I'm in there making some changes as you're using it. Don't mind me, just trying to make our resources better for you. Okay.
That's very important to have that iterative approach too. We should practice what we preach in a way. It's lovely. So I'd love to see what happens when you change it. Also, I would like to be in the document.
Yeah, and I look forward to changing it based on the feedback that we get. So when our teachers and our beta testers use this, let me know what works, what doesn't work, what you want to see more of, and we will update that lesson so that it's better and better thanks to your feedback, because you're the experts and no one is going to be able to create a better lesson than you. Okay, so we made some examples of what we think makes excellent, accessible equipment where everyone can play. And we want to show you what we created. So here is some playground equipment. I'm going to pause so you can see. This was created with cardboard, straws, the hummingbird kit. We've got some swings here. One that's created in order to hold a wheelchair or other mobility equipment, one that's a nice wide seat that people can hold onto or where someone can be supported from behind, and a merry-go-round with lots of space for all different sizes and shapes and people. Now, looking at this, I might look at it and say, is this going to work for everyone? Can I do better? Do I feel great about the people that this will work with? I might show it to someone and see what they think. But this is the initial prototype of this is what I think playground equipment could look like. Ooh, a great question. Which coding language is used? So with the Hummingbird kit, you can use block-based or text-based programming languages. Hummingbird works with Snap, MakeCode, BirdBlocks, which is our free app, and Python and Java. So whatever programming language you want to use, you're welcome to use. I believe that these were programmed with MakeCode so that they could run even when not attached via Bluetooth. But when it comes to that question, there is no wrong answer.
Exactly, and it's very similar. We also made everything now in MakeCode because we have many more resources there. But the thing is, once you hit the roof of MakeCode, you start wanting to learn any of the text-based languages, and then you have glorious amounts of fun learning that too, because that's where the pull system works when you want it. Otherwise, it can be a bit daunting too. But yeah, and once again, like we started when I was exploring this, I figured I want to try a bit, but obviously becomes you start out similar to playgrounds, but I mean, this is why I show, like, I'm actually showing like some higher ceiling things. That's the first stuff. But what we wanted to do was achieve something where, so actually there's an image missing, which I realize now, because that seat is my daughter's vision of a wheelchair that you take off the wheels and snap it in. So you can use all the beams that are on a wheelchair to snap it into structures that move or shake or like all those things. So it started with that together with, like, we had a discussion more than anything. So this is high ceiling projects a bit. Let's go on to the next one of the prototypes. Let's see here. So which is, yeah, you can see this is how it started. She made swings for her dolls. This is a messy floor at my home. And this is, you can see immediately balance starts. They all weigh slightly different. They have different lengths. And then she started introducing the soft toys instead. And we had to like make different space for it. And because of the Strawbees, it's just shifting it apart. But then she realized, but now they're not balanced again because you add more stuff. So we came up with these little sliding weights. So all of a sudden the problem comes up, and she's too young to do this lesson, but I was there having fun. But the questions came, even though she's like too young, she still asked and had fun asking questions and figuring things out. So that's how it started. And she wanted to slide, and it needed to be able to go for different size toys again. So she had that immediately. How do we do that? I don't know. Can we also change? Because some kids are afraid of the fast slides. Can we make it go slower? So she made one that she could shift, just tilt it up and down. We won't see that. But that, you see how the discussion comes, and having something that moves and it's easy to change. It comes naturally, like, oh, but what happens? How do you make the slide slower? You try it. She tried it. So that slide actually slides dolls in plastic. Not so good for the other ones. But then we went up classic Ferris wheels. That's a bit advanced once again, but just to show how you combine cardboard. I wouldn't take this as the first project, but looking at this, it's a great first goal to see. We'll also post those gears because you can just tape it on to your to the servos, the continuous rotation. So I made gears just because it's easier for this particular project, because once it's balanced, it's very easy to move those big things. And I think that was one of the most interesting things. So now I have the solution for balancing and auto balancing, but it's a bit too high ceiling. But it's because you see how it even engages me really hard. I'm like, oh, I want this. You start thinking about all these things. And you see the swing, that's also with the motors. Even if that's one of the solutions that they came up with for but what the problem was, if you don't have the same weight, like when my daughters, they started talking about themselves, it started with that thing. How can you remove that, the weight? You make them impervious to it, and you animate it anyway. So, and then they made a room for a kid who can't join to animate and control it from the inside, which I'll show you later also, that they started with the tactile room that's underneath for the kids who were afraid of the sun or didn't want to be out, or like feels I've had too much. Yeah, you can see that. So they made a really cozy little room under the seesaw, the animated seesaw, and there you can see how the rails are snapped in. So these are some simple prototypes there. And do I have, let's see if I had some more. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I did. Yeah, these are examples so you can see close-ups of some of the solutions. I just wanted to connect some of it where you see the combination of hacks and within the cardboard hacks and Strawbees. Now it looks like a mess, but that's how it becomes. And you should allow it. It's very important to be able to be messy and try out solutions. So this is what happens when you go scaffolding your way forward, adding more and shifting the weight by adding straws outwards and back and forth. So I just wanted to have this as an example of inspiration of what happens.
And mess is a part of the process, right? Like there's a reason you can see the top half of my office, because the bottom is filled with very purposeful mess.
yeah, exactly. Super purposeful. And the thing is, this has been just learning empathy, because for every designer, that's one of the core features. If you're a product developer, not everybody needs to be, but to understand that we all think and experience things different is very important. And now I'd like to show you the 5-minute prototypes that I made, because that's more important. What's the fast stuff? So once you have, like, for example, the seat module that can be changed for different items, I wanted to show you where are we on time? Is it really short? Yeah.
We've got about 4 minutes left.
Yeah, but okay, I wanted to show you, this is what I did on the 10 minutes before. So I wanted to make another base model. Can we highlight my video here?
Yes.
So I took the same seat that's in there, the modular seat. As you can see, so it's a seat for some kind of doll here. I snap it back in, and just to show that these snap in there, but they also snap into straws like this, so you can have a really easy way of connecting something. So this could be a core for spinning objects. Now it's an unbalanced spinning object, and there we have it spinning. Oh, now it's spinning backwards. Maybe that's better for some how do you fix that? Yeah, well, you change it, then you change direction. So once again, all this is one of the things I really like, to actually come up with some kind of modular system to be able to add to it, to iteratively change, come up with another thing of, I have something behind me here actually. Can I show that? So we could even attach it to a large scale thing. Just snap it in here. Oh, we can make.
Oh, wow.
And we can animate that with just strings or balancing it. So this one is actually the balancing piece here. So then we have all the talk about work, forces and levers. As a mechanical engineer, I love that stuff to make it. And then if you look at this structure, you'll see how it starts bending under the forces. But just to show, I would like to show, no, I don't, maybe we'll skip that, but how to hack a base model from Classroom. This can be easily replaced. I didn't have 2 hummingbirds, just to show you, because the microbit is such a powerful thing with the wireless communication. When we talked about that, some kids might not be able to be included in the play, but then they can be part of the play, you know, to be one of the ones controlling it and listening and then transferring that. So you can make like a helmet that, so you experience some of it. But let's show you here. I just used the same modular piece. Need again. Everything snap on, snap off, slide around, crazy invent. Now we have a thing hanging there, and here's one of the interfaces. If you have an arm or leg that you can control, you can control the little remote swing. And this can, so we should put this in like as one of the base, because you start with this and then you figure out where to go, and it pops apart when it's too heavy. Then you understand forces and how they work on levers. But I mean, it's so quick. And you can start by just making something like this and spinning, and then figure out how to move it. Put a little stick there, that, because it's more about communicating that solutions. But Thank you for sharing some of my weird prototypes. I've been in a glorious play mode here.
Love it. As you can tell, I think the biggest trouble we had prepping for this webinar was narrowing down what we wanted to show, because there's just so much for Strawbees and Hummingbird to work together, and for this accessible play question. And we want to make sure that we finish up by showing some free resources, and then we're going to get to the giveaway because we want to be respectful of your time. I've had a lot of questions in the Q&A about where to find these resources. So we've split resources into 3 for you. The first is the slideshow links. So if you are looking for these slides with everything embedded, well, this link is in these slides. So we will email you the link, and it's been shared multiple times. But on this slide deck, you will find on this specific page, the accessible play lesson plan ready for download, the discussion slides that included the barriers to play, link to this slide deck if you would like to share it. And that does include any videos that are embedded, will be embedded in this slide for you to share. I know someone asked specifically about the videos. They are in this slide deck for you. And link to the 3D printing blog. Someone just asked, is there a link available for the Thingiverse, Strawbee, and Hummingbird files? And yes, you'll find them in this 3D printing blog post. And I think they will also be shared via social. We can send a follow-up email, but right now this is where you'll find them all in one place, followed by a whole bunch of BirdBrain resources that you are welcome to look through on your own time, and lots of Strawbees resources and links as well. So that was a lot, and we've had some really great questions, so we will answer some questions, but let's do the giveaway first. It is 101. Vivian, do you want to pop on to share the names for our giveaway?
Yes, absolutely. You can read them out in the chat. We dropped it there. And for the BirdBrain giveaway alert, congrats to the winner of the bundle of BirdBrain swags. It will include t-shirts, stickers, and a tote bag. And it's Robin Chisholm, and we will email you right away after the webinar. And for Strawbees, congrats to 3 winners of the Strawbees Steam Starter Kit. That's our building kit. And that is Amy Brown, Elisa, and Kurt. Thank you so much, and we will email you straight away after the webinar.
Excellent. All right, if you need to take off, please do, but we are going to hang on for a little bit and answer some questions. I know somebody above had a question about Flow and QuirkBot. Let me find it. Does Flow work with microbits, or are there plans for it to work with microbit, or only the QuirkBot?
I think it's going to stay with the QuirkBot for now, because we don't have resources to develop the Flow, because that's how we started. But now you can see how it's moving towards it again, because all video games are programmed in very flow-based or node-based things, and Blender and all other tech is like that. But right now it's currently, or for the foreseeable future, or it's going to stay for the QuirkBot.
Okay, and a detail level question. The tape you used, was it packing tape or was it just Scotch tape?
Scotch tape, regular Scotch tape. And I think it's like whatever you have, you can have double-sided tape also. And then for me, the breaking is an important part of it, but that tape has worked really well this far. So if you tape it in the right spot, regular cello tape, Scotch tape, whatever, depending on the country.
And Marianne just asked in the Q&A, in which email did you include the slides? Marianne, great question. We have not sent out the slides yet, but we can follow up. Vivian, can you please add the link to these slides in the chat one more time? Maybe even type them as an answer to Marianne in Q&A, because we want to make sure that you have these, because this is kind of the master sheet where everything else is linked from. Marianne said, I would really appreciate the links, slides, blogs, lesson. Yes, we want you to have them. Erik and I have no interest in keeping these things a secret. We want to make sure everybody has them and can use them. There's the link to the accessible play presentation slides again in the chat. That will take you to this slideshow that we are on right now, which has links to everything and all of the videos embedded in it, and also that link to the 3D printing files as well.
And they're being uploaded after this, because they got stuck in the upload just before, but as you can see, they exist. It's more a naming thing, but I'll put it up just when this is closed down, and then you can go in and 3D print if you're onto it today. So it's going to be up in maybe a half an hour to an hour.
I want to compliment our attendees here who have really turned a not working chat into just the liveliest Q&A I've ever seen. I love it. I'm seeing so many great thank yous and connections, and I love seeing that. I almost forgot about how we can use Hummingbird with tablets. Thank you, Jolie, for asking that question. So if you are using the Hummingbird bit, the microbit is able to connect with tablets via Bluetooth. If you're using the Hummingbird Duo, it is a different answer, but information about all of that is easily accessible on our website. And if you're having trouble finding it, write to us, support@birdbraintechnologies.com. That's what tech support is all about. Our tech wizard, Jen, is just waiting to hear from you. She loves helping people to get connected. So Bluetooth, if you're using the microbit, if you have more questions, please reach out to us so that we can help you. Seeing so many great thank yous. Thanks for the passion. Thanks for that answer. You are welcome. I'm so glad that people are enjoying. So if we've got more questions, keep on sending them. But if you're ready to go, have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for everything. This has been amazing, and I look forward to follow-ups in the future here. See what happened. All the wonderful playgrounds.
Now I have so many more ideas. I just feel like now we need to keep going and doing more.
Exactly. I couldn't even like. There's so many. I like when I started playing with light and the combination and sound, because you can always parry with it. This is such a fantastic set of tools that
Oh, and I almost forgot. Someone mentioned in the Q&A earlier that this would work well with Make Do. Yes. I love Make Do. I have boxes and boxes of Make Do down there. I use them constantly. They work beautifully together.
Yeah, and like a lot of the solutions that I had to make where you need to use quite a lot of Strawbees, you could use one Make Do to connect one Strawbee and put the rails on, or just so that they work really well together. And that's one of the things. That's an even better approach. That's why we love these collaborations.
Yes.
That's what they should learn. It's not about that one system sitting in one environment, because in the future, if they're ever going to develop something, you work with so many different systems that you need to figure out how to put them together, how to use the best parts of this, and where is this useful, and it's glorious. So more of that.
More. We just got another question. I work with the CS accessibility group. Can I share the playground idea? Yes, please do. And then share it with us. Let us know what they think. Are there new ideas? Do you have prototypes that you can share? This is something that we're so excited about, and we want to have as many kids thinking this way and creating prototypes as possible. So please share, and share widely.
And I think that thing to start talking about it, start seeing your problems, and start like, it would really be fun to have a massive cloud of the problem statements that you've never seen, so you also can build your empathy even more, because that's the thing. We have to communicate more about this. Like, glorious. And I want to design more.
I know. Alyssa just messaged again. She said, I may contact you to speak with the group. While I am not in any capacity an expert on accessible playgrounds, I do love talking about prototyping in ways that get students thinking about how people can feel included and how we can create respect for more people and greater inclusion. So as long as they're okay with speaking to someone who is not a playground expert, I would love that. Let me know. Sign us up.
Yeah. Glory.
Do you think you'll do a live planar with both products? Sandra, tell us more about what you mean. What would you like to see in another webinar? We would love to do more webinars. We just want to know what people want. What should we create next? Erik's brain is exploding.
It's exploding now. I realized it would be so much fun to, like, that to start. You start just a little bit before to get like some
Yeah, maybe we could do something where people bring their Hummingbird and their Strawbees, and we build something together on the call, and everybody turns on their camera and we get to see them all happening.
Yeah, you can have there's so many fun opportunities here. There's oi oi oi. That's Swedish for I don't know where to put all this information or the inspiration. But let's talk about that. A format for that would be so much fun where we actually co-build. You can also have some pre-build, and then so it's easier to start modifying. We're very easy.
And we give homework. People have to
Yeah.
prepare before they can come.
A
All right,
simple
we are almost 10 minutes over, so
Yeah,
I think
sorry.
we are going to wrap up. Our emails are linked here. You can find me, Sarah at birdbraintechnologies.com or Fitz at birdbraintechnologies.com. They both go to me, and then you can contact Strawbees, educator at strawbees.com. Please keep sending us ideas, feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here. Erik, thank you for having me. What a fabulous way to spend an afternoon or anything for you.
Thank you for having me, and I'd love, as once again, I'd love to have another play in our webinar, whatever, to show that it's so much fun.
All right, thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.